Yo, what is up, guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. You guys know the deal. So, a quick preview and prediction for Vasyl Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez. Now, this fight obviously is a unification fight at lightweight, and the fight goes down on the 17th of October at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. In the US, this fight is on ESPN. In the UK, no broadcaster has been announced as of yet. But yeah, I think this is the fight that needs to happen at lightweight. Vasyl Lomachenko quite clearly is the number one guy in the division. And right now, I would say Teofimo Lopez is the number two guy. So as far as I'm concerned, this is the best fight to make right now at £135. So I, for one, I'm very happy that this fight has been made. Anyway, let's briefly run through the tale of the tapes. We shall start with the favourite and more proven fighter, Vasyl Lomachenko. Vasyl Lomachenko has a record of 14 wins, 1 defeat, 0 draws. 10 of those 14 wins coming by way of knockout. And Teofimo Lopez has a record of 15 wins, 0 defeats, 0 draws. 12 of those 15 wins coming by way of knockout. Vasyl Lomachenko is listed as 5'7" with a 65.5-inch reach, whereas Teofimo Lopez is listed as 5'8" with a 68.5-inch reach. Vasyl Lomachenko is 32 years old, whereas Teofimo Lopez is 23 years old. Lomachenko is a southpaw, and obviously Teofimo Lopez is an orthodox fighter. Now, as the tale of the tape show, Teofimo Lopez is the taller, longer, bigger man, and as far as I'm concerned, he needs to make that count in this fight, because in my opinion, that really is his only real advantage in this fight, along with his respectable punching power. He really needs to make that size and power count. I'll get into that a bit later. As for the amount of fights both guys have had, they've both actually had 15 fights, but obviously Lomachenko is far more experienced. He had a tremendous amateur career where he was a 2-time gold medalist in the Olympics, and as a pro, he's a freeweight world champion, beat the likes of Jorge Linares, Gary Russell Jr., Guillermo Rigondeaux, Nicholas Walters, Luke Campbell, etc., etc. So, Vasyl Lomachenko, clearly the more experienced guy, clearly more battle-tested, and he's just operated at a much higher level. So he is the vastly more experienced guy going into this fight, and I think that will play a big factor in this bout. But yeah, now the tale of the tapes are out of the way, let's get onto the stylistic clash in this bout. What both guys need to do, how I think it's going to play out, etc., etc. When this fight was first talked about a while ago now, I was really... I felt that Teofimo Lopez would be a very dangerous opponent for Vasyl Lomachenko. And don't get me wrong, I still feel Lopez is dangerous, mainly due to his size and power. But as I've gone back and watched Teofimo Lopez's fights, I'll be honest, I don't think he's the risk that I initially thought he was. Looking at his fights, I think it's obvious that Teofimo carries very good power. He's got relatively quick hands, not so much in terms of throwing combinations, but more so in the fact that he's very quick off the counter. He takes those counterpunch opportunities extremely quickly, and he catches a lot of guys unaware, as we saw in the Richard Commey fight, when Commey kind of telegraphed a lazy right hand, and Lopez counterpunched him, dropped him, and that really was the end of the fight. Lopez, in my opinion, is a very astute counterpuncher, but in my opinion, Teofimo Lopez is a guy who, when he has to create his own openings, in my opinion, he's not nowhere near as effective as he is a counterpuncher. If you make a mistake, yeah, he's going to find you out and find that shot. But when you're not really giving him much to work on, I don't think the guy is all that creative in terms of his offense. I mean, we saw that in the Nakatani fight. Nakatani was a big, tall guy who was utilising straight punches very well, who was keeping a good range. And, Teofimo Lopez never really changed it up. He was kind of struggling to really get through with super effective work. And while I thought he just about won that fight, Nakatani really gave him a lot of problems because he really wasn't doing all that much wrong technically, and he wasn't giving Lopez the opportunities that he's used to having. he actually made Lopez look pretty pedestrian and predictable in that fight. He can't afford to be that way against Lomachenko. I think he needs to bring a lot more to the table than what he's shown so far in order to win this fight. Now, how does he do that? In this relatively short amount of time, I don't really envisage this guy changing his style up too much or having improved all that drastically. So, as far as I'm concerned, Teofimo Lopez really needs to find a way to make that size advantage, strength advantage, power advantage a factor in this fight. He needs to utilise those attributes, in my opinion, to win this bout. And that would involve a change in styles in some sense. I think he needs to be a lot more aggressive and he needs to fight a much more physical fight. He needs to be on the front foot constantly, behind ideally a decent defence. Teofimo Lopez is a guy who likes to come inside on, behind like a shoulder roll. That's not going to work against Lomachenko. You're going to get pieced up. Lomachenko's going to find a way past that shoulder roll. The southpaw lead to the body, hooks to the head. Teofimo Lopez's shoulder roll really isn't all that effective in my opinion. The guy does get touched up. So scrap that for this fight. Come forwards with a nice tight high guard behind a ramrod jab. Try to force Lomachenko back. Try to force him against the ropes. And every single time you've got this guy pinned, really get on his chest. Make him feel your strength, the extra weight, and basically try to tire him out, wear him down, and beat him up, Make it a really rough type of dogfight. Try and take Lomachenko back to the Salido fight. Really make it a rough, tough, physical affair, He really needs to, make that weight advantage, that size advantage count. And also, obviously, make those power shots count. Obviously, still look for the openings as you would. Again, Teofimo Lopez is a counterpuncher, so he still needs to be aware if and when Lomachenko does make mistakes, he needs to capitalise on those opportunities. We saw Jorge Linares time Lomachenko with a really nice short right hand as Lomachenko kind of got lazy, kind of just came in square on, and he walked into a right hand and he got dropped. In these moments, Teofimo really needs to take advantage of them, to be honest, because Teofimo certainly appears to hit hard, So yeah, obviously still look for those counterpunch opportunities, but while you're not doing that, don't just sit around waiting for Lomachenko to make mistakes. Force the fight, be active with the jab, apply pressure, rough him up. Teofimo needs to be working a lot more in this fight than he usually works. Teofimo Lopez is actually quite a low output fighter, in my opinion. He looks for the perfect opportunities to land those, hard counter shots. And yeah, he can't afford to be doing that against Lomachenko because what you could see, especially with an inexperienced guy like Teofimo Lopez, you could see this guy in like the first 4, 5, 6 rounds, you could see this guy kind of sitting back, not taking too many risks, not letting go of his shots, and looking for the perfect counter shot with that right hand. And what you'll see in those occasions, or in that instant, you will see Teofimo Lopez lose round after round after round. Lomachenko might not be doing much himself, but he's going to be picking away, prodding away, circling you, keeping you off balance. That counter shot's never going to come, and before you know it, you're going to be fucking 5 or 6 rounds down, and then you're going to be starting to panic. At that point, you're going to theoretically start taking more risks. Lomachenko then is going to start piecing you up down the stretch, and it's going to be a long, painful night. I could see Teofimo Lopez suffering with what I call paralysis by analysis. Now, we've seen this in a few fights in the past, most notably when, actually with an experienced guy, it was Vladimir Klitschko versus Tyson Fury. We saw Vladimir Klitschko bite off every feint that Tyson Fury was throwing, and he was bamboozled. As a result, Vladimir was biting on every feint, and he wasn't really throwing back, and Tyson Fury was basically just stealing the rounds. Tyson Fury really wasn't doing much punching in that fight, but Vladimir Klitschko wasn't punching at all. And that was due to the feints, the movements, the herky-jerky nature of Tyson Fury's style. Vladimir suffered from paralysis by analysis, and he lost the fight. You could see Teofimo Lopez doing something similar in this bout, where he's biting on every single feint, every single movement. Before you know it, he's 5 or 6 rounds down, he's getting frustrated, and then Lomachenko starts to turn up the heat, and it's going to turn into a really long, painful night. I could see a scenario like that happening, where Lomachenko just really kind of undresses Teofimo Lopez and takes advantage of his inexperience. And that's what Teofimo Lopez really needs to avoid. He needs to be busy in this fight. He needs to be rough. He needs to be throwing shots. And yeah, he needs to change things up going into this bout. Because if he doesn't, unless he lands like a perfect counter, I don't see him winning this fight. I really don't. And as far as I'm concerned, if we're talking about Teofimo's chances, I put it down to a puncher's chance. I think Lopez hits hard enough to hurt Lomachenko, maybe knock him out. I don't think that's out of the realms of possibility. But, as far as I'm concerned, Vasyl is just far more versatile. He's a far better boxer, greater output. The guy is just better all round, in my opinion. Apart from size, strength, youth, and punching power, Lomachenko is better in every way as far as I'm concerned. So Lomachenko just needs to be Lomachenko. First 2 or 3 rounds, Lomachenko is going to be scouting like he usually does, just prodding away, picking up the rounds, keeping Lopez off balance with that lateral movement, and yeah, basically just try to frustrate him early on, pick up the rounds, build a lead on the scorecards, and as Lopez then gets more desperate, then mount your attack. I actually think a really good strategy for Lomachenko in this fight would be, as I said, to basically probe early on, win the rounds, frustrate Teofimo, and as the fight goes on, get more aggressive, but particularly get on the inside, because in my opinion, Teofimo Lopez isn't really the greatest inside fighter. Not from what I've seen. Yeah, he's going to be strong up close if he holds you, if he clinches you, and Lomachenko definitely needs to be aware of that, because he could get tired out if you allow a guy to continuously clinch you who's bigger. But if Lopez doesn't really do that on the inside and he allows Lomachenko to really have his free reign, then the inside could be a safe haven for Lomachenko in this fight, because he's a far superior inside fighter. It's not even funny. So yeah, I would like to see Lomachenko utilise that inside game against Teofimo, work that body. Teofimo's a guy who, he's a big lightweight, and he said himself that he's not going to be around at 135 for long. So again, the body attack from Lomachenko, very, very subtle body attack Lomachenko, but it's very effective. Early on, again, probe to the body, and as the fight goes on, just up that work rate, start beating that drum, and yeah, potentially, Teofimo Lopez could be spent in the championship rounds. So yeah, I basically see this fight playing out like you'll see a guy in Teofimo Lopez who's a bit lively early on. Maybe he could land a couple of good shots here and there. Maybe even drops Lomachenko or buzzes him. But after the first 4 or 5 rounds, Lomachenko's going to get in his groove and he's going to start going to town. And yeah, me personally, I think Lomachenko wins this fight either by late stoppage or a points win, like a pretty wide points verdict. I could see Teofimo getting stopped, but he is a big guy, right? So I think the safe bet would be Vasyl Lomachenko on points. Maybe a late stoppage, but I'm going to go with Lomachenko on points. Yeah, Lomachenko on points, I think. Share your thoughts below. What do you make of this fight? Do you guys give Teofimo Lopez a better chance than I do? Or, like me, are you going with the favourite Vasyl Lomachenko? Share your thoughts below. Peace.